A Course in Miracles. Lesson 198. Only my condemnation injures me. Injury is impossible, and yet illusion makes illusion. If you can condemn, you can be injured, for you have believed that you can injure, and the right you have established for yourself can be now used against you, till you lay it down as valueless, unwanted, and unreal. Then does illusion cease to have effects, and those it seemed to have will be undone. Then are you free, for freedom is your gift, and you can now receive the gift you gave. Condemn, and you are made a prisoner. Forgive, and you are freed. Such is the law that rules perception. It is not a law that knowledge understands, for freedom is a part of knowledge. To condemn is thus impossible in truth. What seems to be its influence and its effects have not occurred at all. Yet must we deal with them a while as if they had. Illusion makes illusion, except one. Forgiveness is the illusion that is answer to the rest. Forgiveness sweeps all other dreams away, and though it is itself a dream, it breeds no others. All illusions save this one must multiply 1,000-fold. But this is where illusions end. Forgiveness is the end of dreams, because it is a dream of waking. It is not itself the truth, yet does it point to where the truth must be and gives direction with the certainty of God Himself. It is a dream in which the Son of God awakens to His self and to His Father, knowing they are one. Forgiveness is the only road that leads out of disaster, past all suffering, and finally away from death. How could there be another way when this one is the plan of God Himself? And why would you oppose it, quarrel with it, seek to find 1,000 ways in which it must be wrong, 1,000 other possibilities? Is it not wiser to be glad you hold the answer to your problems in your hand? Is it not more intelligent to thank the one who gives salvation and accept His gift with gratitude? And is it not a kindness to yourself to hear His voice and learn the simple lessons He would teach, instead of trying to dismiss His words and substitute your own in place of His? His words will work. His words will save. His words contain all hope, all blessing, and all joy that ever can be found upon this earth. His words are born in God and come to you with heaven's love upon them. Those who hear His words have heard the song of heaven. For these are the words in which all merge as one at last. And as this one will fade away, the word of God will come to take its place, for it will be remembered then and loved. This world has many seeming separate haunts where mercy has no meaning and attack appears as justified. Yet all are one, a place where death is offered to God's Son and to His Father. You may think they have accepted, but if you will look again upon the place where you beheld their blood, you will perceive a miracle instead. How foolish to believe that they could die. How foolish to believe you can attack. How mad to think that you could be condemned and that the Holy Son of God can die. The stillness of yourself remains unmoved, untouched by thoughts like these, and unaware of any condemnation which could need forgiveness. Dreams of any kind are strange and alien to the truth. And what but truth could have a thought which builds a bridge to it that brings illusions to the other side? Today we practice letting freedom come to make its home with you. The truth bestows these words upon your mind that you may find the key to light and let the darkness end. Only my condemnation injures me. Only my own forgiveness sets me free. Do not forget today that there can be no form of suffering that fails to hide an unforgiving thought. Nor can there be a form of pain forgiveness cannot heal. Accept the one illusion which proclaims there is no condemnation in God's Son, and heaven is remembered instantly, the world forgotten, all its weird beliefs forgotten with it, as the face of Christ appears unveiled at last in this one dream. This is the gift the Holy Spirit holds for you from God your Father. Let today be celebrated both on earth and in your holy home as well. Be kind to both, as you forgive the trespasses you thought them guilty of, and see your innocence shining upon you from the face of Christ. Now is there silence all around the world. Now is there stillness where before there was a frantic rush of thoughts that made no sense. Now is there tranquil light across the face of earth, made quiet in a dreamless sleep. And now the word of God alone remains upon it.
Only that can be perceived an instant longer.
Then are symbols done, and everything you ever thought you made completely vanished from the mind that God forever knows to be his only Son. There is no condemnation in him. He is perfect in his holiness. He needs no thoughts of mercy. Who could give him gifts when everything is his? And who could dream of offering forgiveness to the Son of sinlessness itself, so like to him whose Son he is, that to behold the Son is to perceive no more, and only know the Father. In this vision of the Son, so brief that not an instant stands between this single sight and timelessness itself, you see the vision of yourself, and then you disappear forever into God. Today we come still nearer to the end of everything that yet would stand between this vision and our sight. And we are glad that we have come this far, and recognize that he who brought us here will not forsake us now. For he would give to us the gift that God has given us through him today. Now is the time for your deliverance. The time has come. The time has come today. Lesson 198. Only my condemnation injures me. You think condemnation has a victim. What if it never leaves the one who believes it? What if the first mistake was never condemning someone? What if the first mistake was believing condemnation was even possible? Detective Boy doesn't begin by asking who committed the crime. He begins much earlier than that. He walks into what everyone calls a crime scene, looks around, and asks a question nobody else thinks to ask. What had to be believed before this could even become a crime scene? Everybody else is already interviewing witnesses. They're collecting evidence. They're looking for fingerprints. They're trying to identify the victim and the offender. Detective Boy isn't interested in any of that yet. He's still standing at the entrance. He's looking upstream. Because if the first assumption is false, every conclusion built upon it will also be false. So he asks another question. Where did the idea of condemnation come from? Did it come from God? Did it come from love? Did it come from truth? Or did it come from a mind that believed something had been taken away? Think about it. Before anyone can condemn, something first has to appear valuable enough to lose. Something has to seem threatened. Something has to seem damaged. Something has to seem capable of being attacked. Without that belief, what reason would there ever be to condemn? Notice how quickly the investigation moves away from people and towards ideas. This was never about who did what to whom. It was always about the thought system that made condemnation seem reasonable in the first place. That's why today's word cloud quietly pointed us upstream before we ever opened the lesson. The most frequent word wasn't condemnation. It was God. Then one, then Son. Only after that do we arrive at forgiveness, words, delusions, and condemnation. The cloud is already telling the story. It starts with source, not with sin. It starts with God, not guilt. If ideas never leave their source, then Detective Boy knows exactly where to begin looking. Not at the crime scene, at the source of the idea that made the crime scene seem possible. Because once the source is questioned, everything built upon it is ready to be investigated. What if Detective Boy leaves the crime scene and walks into the courtroom? Everyone is already seated. The judge is on the bench. The attorneys have their arguments prepared. The witnesses are waiting to testify. The verdict feels inevitable. But Detective Boy isn't interested in the case. He's interested in something no one else has questioned. Who gave this court the authority to hear the case? The room goes quiet.
Everybody assumed the court had jurisdiction. Nobody thought to ask where that authority came from. Did God establish this court? Did truth appoint this judge? Did love authorize these proceedings? Or did belief quietly build the courtroom long before anyone walked inside? Think about it. A courtroom isn't powerful because it has walls. It isn't powerful because someone wears a robe. It isn't powerful because a gavel makes a loud sound. Its authority depends entirely on its jurisdiction. Without jurisdiction, every objection, every argument, every sentence, and every verdict is only theater. Now bring that question to condemnation. Who authorized condemnation? Who gave one child of God the authority to declare another guilty? Who issued that badge?
Who gave one child of God the authority to declare another guilty? Who issued that badge? Who signed that order? Who established that court? If it wasn't God, what gave it its power? Only belief. The belief that something real had been lost. The belief that something created by God could be damaged. The belief that separation actually occurred. That belief became the court's only jurisdiction. The moment the belief is questioned, the authority begins to disappear. Nobody has to storm the courtroom. Nobody has to argue with the judge. Nobody has to overturn the verdict. The investigation simply discovers that the authority everyone assumed was there was never established by God. And when the source of the authority is questioned, the courtroom quietly empties itself. The case has nowhere left to stand. The investigation isn't over yet. Detective Boy has one more question. Why does this world seem to keep producing the same problems over and over again? Fear leads to more fear. Judgment leads to more judgment. Attack calls for defense. Defense gives birth to guilt. Guilt demands punishment. Punishment justifies more attack. Round and round it goes. It's as though every illusion has children. Every belief reproduces after its own kind. One fearful thought becomes two. Two become 10. 10 become a lifetime. No wonder the world feels so crowded. It's filled with the offspring of unexamined beliefs. Detective Boy doesn't ask how many illusions there are. He asks why they keep multiplying. Then today's lesson introduces something unlike everything else in the world. Forgiveness. Not because forgiveness creates a better illusion. Forgiveness doesn't improve the family tree. It doesn't produce a kinder form of judgment. It doesn't give birth to a gentler attack. Forgiveness is astonishing because it produces nothing after itself. It has no offspring. It leaves no descendants. It doesn't continue the dream. It brings the dream to a quiet end. Think about how different that is. Every illusion asks to be repeated. Forgiveness asks for nothing. Every illusion seeks another witness. Forgiveness releases the need for witnesses. Every illusion wants a future. Forgiveness has no future to defend. It simply lets the past stop reproducing itself. That's why forgiveness is unlike every other symbol in the dream. It doesn't extend the illusion. It ends the cycle that made the illusion seem alive. The investigation has uncovered something remarkable. The world keeps breeding itself through belief. Forgiveness is the one gift that leaves no heirs behind. When forgiveness arrives, the family tree of illusion quietly comes to an end. The investigation has uncovered something else hidden in plain sight. Before we ever opened the lesson, the word cloud was already telling the story. God. 1. Son. Forgiveness. Come. That isn't a random collection of words, it's a map. It begins with God as the source of everything. From God comes one. From one comes the Son. Forgiveness removes every obstacle to remembering that oneness. Then comes the simplest word in the entire lesson: come. Notice what the Course doesn't say. It doesn't demand. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't bargain. It doesn't shame. It simply says, come. That is the voice of love. Love doesn't force. Love invites. Detective Boy pauses here. Why would truth invite instead of command? Because invitation leaves room for recognition. The discovery has to become your own. Nobody can remember for you. Nobody can see for you. Nobody can accept the gift on your behalf. The invitation is deeply personal. It isn't asking you to travel somewhere new. It's inviting you to remember what has always been true. That's why the cloud began with God instead of condemnation. It begins with the source. Everything else is simply a return to that beginning. Come. One word. No pressure. No argument. No verdict. Just an open door waiting to be noticed. The investigation has reached the question that quietly solves every case. Detective Boy doesn't carry a list of answers. He carries one question. No matter what appears before him, the question never changes. Injury. Did God create that? Loss. Did God create that? Attack. Did God create that? Fear. Did God create that? Death. Did God create that? Disaster. Did God create that? Guilt. Did God create that? Shame. Did God create that? Notice what the question doesn't do. It doesn't argue. It doesn't condemn. It doesn't defend. It simply follows every idea upstream to its source, because if God created it, it must share God's nature. It must be eternal. It must be changeless. It must be whole. It must be love itself. And if it doesn't share God's nature, the investigation isn't finished. Detective Boy doesn't reject it. He simply keeps following the trail. Where did this idea come from? Who taught it? What had to be believed before it could seem true? One quiet question begins unraveling an entire thought system. Not by force, not by debate, by returning every appearance to its source. This is why today's lesson never asks us to fight condemnation. It asks us to examine the foundation upon which condemnation stands. If God didn't create condemnation, who did? If God didn't create guilt, what is it? If God didn't create injury, who has actually been injured? The investigation keeps moving upstream until only what came from God remains. Everything else quietly falls away under the light of a single question. The investigation has become even more interesting. Detective Boy begins to notice something. The world isn't held together by facts. It's held together by weird beliefs. Not evil beliefs, not powerful beliefs. Weird beliefs. Beliefs so familiar that nobody remembers accepting them. Beliefs that have been repeated so often they feel like facts. Take condemnation. Who decided it was possible? Who taught that one child of God could stand in judgment over another? Who first believed that love could become hate? Who first believed that innocence could become guilt? Nobody seems to know. The belief is simply inherited. One generation hands it to the next. One fearful thought gives birth to another. Soon the whole world agrees, without ever examining the original assumption. That's what Detective Boy finds so fascinating.
People rarely question their conclusions. They almost never question the belief that produced them. So that's where the investigation goes. One weird belief at a time. Can the eternal become temporary? Can the whole become fragmented? Can love create fear? Can God condemn his own creation? Each question removes another layer. No arguments, no debates, just honest investigation. One by one, the weird beliefs begin to collapse under their own weight. Not because someone defeated them, because they could never support themselves once they were brought into the light. What looked like a solid world begins to reveal itself as a collection of unquestioned assumptions. And the more Detective Boy investigates, the fewer weird beliefs remain standing. The investigation is almost complete. After following every question upstream, Detective Boy notices something unexpected. Even the investigation is a symbol. Words are symbols. Lessons are symbols. Forgiveness is a symbol. They all point beyond themselves. Think of a bridge. A bridge has only one purpose: to carry you from where you believe you are to where you have always belonged. Nobody builds a house in the middle of the bridge. Nobody mistakes the bridge for the destination. Once it has served its purpose, you simply keep walking. The bridge doesn't disappear because it failed. Its purpose has been fulfilled. That's what today's lesson quietly reveals. Forgiveness is the bridge. The words are the bridge. The lessons are the bridge. Every symbol gently carries the mind toward remembrance. Then comes a moment when symbols have completed their purpose. Nothing has been destroyed. Nothing has been repaired. Nothing has been added. Nothing has been taken away. The investigation hasn't created the truth. It has uncovered what was never hidden except by belief. That's why the word cloud told the whole story before we ever began. God. One. Son. The investigation didn't arrive somewhere new. It arrived where it had always been pointing. Every question led upstream. Every assumption was gently examined. Every weird belief quietly dissolved in the light of truth. No verdict was ever needed. The evidence spoke for itself. And what remained was what had always remained. God. One. Son.